I'm not giving anything technical tonight. There's no slides. But it was kind of inspired by something that I was working on for my talk earlier today. I'd mentioned during my talk about Alex Stepanov that Alex was all about the academy. And I asked him once his opinion about the authorship question. So this is the question, who wrote the works that were published under the pseudonym William Shakespeare? And the reason this question comes up is because the mainstream belief about who wrote the works, being a man from Stratford called William Shakespeare, is really based more in spite of evidence than because of evidence. But Alex's his take on it was, whatever the experts in the academy believe, that's what you should accept. But we all know that things like surgeons washing their hands, plate tectonics, bacterial ulcers, Jefferson fathering children, the academic experts can be wrong. And I think they're wrong in this case. The mainstream view is that William Shakespeare is not actually a pseudonym. It's just an alternative spelling for the man from Stratford. We know that the man from Stratford's name, how it was pronounced. And the reason we know this is because Elizabethan writers didn't have a concept of a misspelled word. They wrote the word the way they heard it. And so the man from Stratford's name was spelled S-H-A-K, S-H-A-Q, S-H-A-X. We have all these different spellings. But almost always, and to be fair, not always, but almost always, it was spelled as if there was a short A sound. Shack and not shake. And so his name was actually pronounced Shakespeare, not Shakespeare. So the academic experts have referred to the Elizabethan age as the golden age of pseudonyms. And I want to share one piece of evidence why I think William Shakespeare is a pseudonym. One of the reasons that the experts think that it's the golden age of pseudonyms is because we've identified lots and lots of pseudonyms. We also have many, many authors' names for which we have no biography at all. And almost certainly they are writers who we know under a different name. So Stanley Wells is one of the most recognized Shakespeare experts. And of course, he's a strong believer in the Stratfordian myth. And he's pointed out that there is not a single document that's contemporaneous, meaning from the lifetime of the author, that indicates that he was a writer. Now, I want to think about the implications of this. So we know that William Shakespeare was famous. His first published work under his name, William Shakespeare, which I, again, think is a pseudonym, was reprinted 17 times. Reprints in the Elizabethan age were just unheard of because they were so expensive to do. But this was a very, very popular work. He was very well known. He was very famous. So the idea that someone with that kind of fame, there would not be a letter written to him in praise, asking how to become a writer, anything like this. Nothing like that exists. There is one letter that was written to the man from Stratford, and it had nothing to do with writing. It was about borrowing money. It was a request to borrow money. And the letter was not found in his effects, so we don't know if it was ever sent. It's likely, because Shakespeare was almost certainly illiterate, he probably gave it to someone else to read to him. That's the only letter that survives. Now, think about this. Very famous man, and yet no letters written to him survive. But it is possible that he collected all those letters and somehow a fire or flood destroyed them all at one shot. That's possible. But now let's think about the flip side of this. Here was this very, very experienced writer who wrote sonnets, he wrote epic poems, 1,000-line poems, he wrote 40 plays of different kinds of genres, and he was such an expert in all these different fields that you can actually go and see books written about how much Shakespeare knew about a particular line of work, about 12 different areas where he was very, very knowledgeable. And yet there's not a single letter that he wrote. Now think about it. The letters to him, okay, they're all in one place. They would have possibly been destroyed through an accident. But no one kept a letter from William Shakespeare. He supposedly is a man from Stratford who had his plays performed in London, and he never wrote a letter saying, how's the play going? What's the reception? How's the ticket sales? No. There is no one who saved this letter from William Shakespeare. Now, think about it. Suppose you got a letter from Stephen King or some famous writer. Would you save that letter? Sure, you'd save it for nothing else for the signature. But that didn't happen. And I don't believe that this man, this famous writer, the greatest writer of English language, didn't send any letters. The reason we don't have them today is that when he sent those letters, he signed his name. He didn't sign William Shakespeare because that was a pseudonym. Thank you.